That said, laws that regulate free speech must be narrowly written. Male and female impersonation, or drag, as it is more commonly known, is viewed by many as a form of artistic expression protected by the First Amendment. All drag is not sexual or erotic in nature. The fact that something is being performed by an impersonator does not automatically render it sexual or erotic in nature. This brings us to the reason the town board is contemplating an amendment of the adult use code. The inclusion of male or female impersonators in the definition of adult cabaret is not aimed at regulating sexually explicit speech. It is aimed at regulating all speech and expression by impersonators. In other words, the definition casts a net that is far wider than the type of speech and expression that a government is permitted to regulate. In short, I'm not convinced that the town code's definition of adult cabaret as written could withstand a constitutional challenge as long as male or female impersonation is included in the definition of adult use. I have advised the town board accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. Discussion from the board.
Thank you very much for the legal, because that's where my logic went. But it's good to have our best legal minds in agreement that, this is truly about First Amendment rights. It's truly about having laws on the books that are actually enforceable and aren't the product of some sort of moral code that isn't necessarily universal. So thank you very much for that. Bridget.
Yeah, I agree. I did research on this because I do appreciate that there's two views here. There's a view that it is some people feel that it's offensive to the community, and looking at it from a legal standpoint, I agree with Bridget. I appreciate you did a whole lot more research than I did. I appreciate the way that was written as well. I agree with everything that you said. But the constitutionality of it, I think it's problematic for the town. And if we have the code enforcement officer trying to interpret the Constitution that in a statute that we probably know is unconstitutional, that's going to be very difficult. It's going to be difficult for business owners to make a decision on what they want to do. And if they say, hey, the Constitution says it's unlawful and we're going to do it anyway, we're going to do it even though the town code says that it's unlawful, then we shut it down and have it go through the courts for a number of years when we know that's we know that a law is unconstitutional and cannot be legally enforced. And it certainly would open us up to lawsuits as well. So I appreciate the town board members who brought this to our attention, and I'm in favor of changing it. I'm in favor of changing it for many other reasons, but I think it's a law that cannot be enforced. It's like saying women really shouldn't be wearing slacks. Men can't have their hair grow long. Women can't have their hair short. I appreciate we got a letter from Pastor John at Agape, but that's what St. Paul's letter to Timothy said. Women should not wear their hair short because it looks like men. Men cannot wear their hair long because it looks like women. So if we're going to enforce the law as it's interpreted by some people, then I think then that would have to go in the books, and that is patently unconstitutional as well. So I'm prepared to go forward today, put on the agenda and vote for it today.
Thank you, Jim. Do you have anything?
Yes. As we said we were going to do in our last meeting, the group that often reviews our code and has done so in the past, which consisted of 2 members of the planning board, 2 members of the zoning board, a code enforcement officer Cassidy, town clerk Lieberach, Councilman Luke Wyshensky, and myself. We discussed this inside and out, backwards and forward, and from each aspect that we could think of, and the pros and cons of it. And in the end of it, it was a unanimous decision. to change this. And I want to thank our town attorney, Bridget, for sharing that with us and giving us obviously the legal side of it, because we truly appreciate that. But we've discussed this enough, and I think I'm good with changing the law.
Yeah, I'm going to repeat the sentiment. I think we'd like to thank everybody for their thoughts. It's important to understand what the community thinks. At the end of the day, there is a legal argument, right? We are looking at a right, and there is a right to free speech. And it's not our business to regulate that. While there are situations where that may be, like as in the adult code, that is certainly not the case here. It's not our job to be the moral police. And it is also something that I personally would like to say that, in addition to the legal arguments, I hope that we can include members of our community that may not always be included in history or moving forward. And I want people in the town of Aurora to understand that they're welcome here, no matter what they feel or believe or who they are. And in this situation, again, in this country, we have a right to free speech, and if their free speech is not affecting anybody, then I think we do not want to get in their way of doing that. So.
Thanks, Luke. Did you want to say?
And I have one thing that I'd like to add. We do have a way to at least regulate this somewhat through our special use permit. If someone decided that they were going to have this outside, they would have to go through the special use permit process. And we do have ways to regulating it, at least to some degree. I'm not saying we could stop it, but so I wanted to just add that.
If I could also tack on, sorry, it's a problem with going first, right? You get all these ideas from everybody else. But I would also like to speak to, and Luke touched on this, and I think everybody who spoke touched on this. Our adult use language, our remaining adult use code still meets the criteria to prevent any sexualized performances from taking place, from the degradation of neighborhoods due to adult use type activities. All we're doing is removing a part that was always unenforceable. There will be no net change to our ability to regulate true adult activities in the town of Aurora.
And we have the ability to enforce, sorry to interrupt, performances of any type, regardless of whether there is male or female impersonators. That remains not in the adult use code, but in our special use permit and the zoning regulations. So the event, yes, the event code that we passed. So there are things to protect the interests, sufficient means to protect the interests of neighboring landowners who may be affected by any performance, whatever it would be.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So.
In my mind, it comes down to definition. By state law, every town and village has to have an area zoned for adult use. Okay, ours happens to be in the industrial section of our town. That is by law. You can't get around that. And it just comes down to, again, definition is drag shows an adult use. And I think we've talked about that today, and it comes down to, I don't believe it is. So if we're done with the discussion, then I'll move that we just add it to our agenda for a vote for the next meeting. Okay. All right, we'll move on to.
I just, one more thing, maybe.
Sure.
It's just, there were some comments on Facebook before that I saw, just to let everyone know, who may be listening online or here, that this meeting date was set in January of this year. The town board did not set this meeting at a special time because of any decisions we're going to be making today. Any accusation otherwise, you can go back and look at the meeting minutes and see that this time was set January of this year, as it is every year.
For the last 14 or 15 years that I know of. So
So you move to put it on the calendar? Do we need a second and vote on it?
no, it's already on there.
Is it on
It's
there?
only unfinished business.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Thank you.
We good?
Yep.
All right, next we'll go to requests to purchase pool vacuum. Is Chris here? Okay, approval is requested to purchase a new automated pool vacuum from Commercial Clearwater Company. The pool has been without the automatic pool vacuum for several years due to issues with the pandemic. And having the automated vacuum that can be run overnight while the pool is closed, reduces staff hours and improve water quality due to the superior filter. Payment for this large purchase was budgeted for 2022 and line A7180.426. And then Chris has the estimates for the pool vacuum with commercial Clearwater being the lowest at $8,999. Any questions on that? I was hoping Chris could answer if he was here, but
Are we sure these are the same vacuum that are in each quote, or?
Lots of times from different companies, you can't get the same exact quotes there, and
Yeah.
there is one different quote in here.
That's what, yeah,
I'm gonna
Matronics,
assume that Chris has done his,
when,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The only question would be is if the Matronics Wave 200 XL is better than the Dolphin Wave, or for some
it's kind
reason.
of like when we put a bid out for a new truck for a highway or something like that, we're not
Yeah.
specifically asking for a Ford or a Chevy, it's
Yeah.
who can give us the cheapest, and it's,
But they're
Down here.
comparable, yeah.
there,
Vacuums
there's,
are,
the quote was put out with the same exact wording. So,
right.
there might be some options that are different between.
I mean, I don't want us to install this vacuum and then have it suck in a couple of years.
I was really hoping nobody would go there. I do see that the winning quote included a 3-year warranty, and I don't see that same language in the others. Like you say, if Chris was here, we could ask. They all have the same warranty?
3-year was in the low quote, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're, so we're gonna put that on the agenda. Maybe Chris will be here by then, if you have any questions for that. Next is the payment section of the pools. I don't know if you wanted to do that, Chuck.
sure.
Okay.
Sure. We finally, after snowfall, we finally have the pool boiler installed. So please consider approval for payment. Number one, and the final payment to Greater Niagara Mechanical for the pool boiler installation. The contract amount and invoice amount are $39,745. Funds will be dispersed from line A7110.454, the ARPA funds we've already approved it for that. We do not have a natural gas service yet because it had to be rerouted due to the addition, and National Fuel hasn't gotten back to us to put the new service in. So we have no natural gas. So obviously we can't fire it up. I did speak to Rod Sigmund at Greater Niagara, and he said that he would definitely come out the end of March, first part of April, somewhere in that area there, and fire it up with us that first time and make sure that, there's no leaks, that it's the way it should be. So that's where we are on that.
Okay. Are you gonna do the next two?
The next one too?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Once you're involved with that.
Yep. And the next one is a request from Peyton Barlow regarding the pool project. This is for an epoxy floor finish to a quartz broadcast material instead of the vinyl flake. We looked at this pretty thoroughly, and it is definitely more of a non-slip surface than the original. And I feel that for $450 per bathroom, it's money well spent, and it's cheap insurance for us. So
Right.
I would recommend that we approve that.
And I think, yeah, because we're losing one cost, right? We're adding one, but the cost of the epoxy is going away, or do I have
Yeah.
that right? Yeah.
They took into account the deduction, but it's a whole nother step
Gotcha.
in the process.
And Chuck, I did have a question as far as that step, and I think having that's a great idea. That's the way to do it. Is there a longevity to that? Does it have to be resurfaced over a period of time that
I'm sure at some point, Jim, but I'm gonna say those epoxy finishes last a long, long time. But I can't give you an exact.
Right.
I have one in my garage
Yeah.
and it's guaranteed for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they last a long time
And that's driving a car on top of it, it's salt and everything, so.
with just foot traffic.
Yeah, I'm glad we're doing that. That's great.
Yes.
Thank you, Chuck.
Certainly. And the next one is also a credit from Peyton Barlow. As I think we all know, we are certainly going to need to repave that whole driveway once the pool project is done. And in Peyton Barlow's contract, they had repaving the areas, I should say patching on the areas that were disturbed from the construction. You know, obviously you have to have an overdig to pour foundations and so forth. They are going to fill it with stone and get it up to that height, but we have a credit of $2,500 coming to us for them not to blacktop it, as we'll take care of that when we do the whole driveways in the spring, hopefully in the spring. So, any
And then-
questions?
You did the payment number 3 to school project, 105.
Oh, sure. Peyton Barlow is also asking for a payment of $105,413.37. These payments are, just so everybody knows. First of all, William, our architect at Fontenay, Foltz, Albrecht and Ernst, goes through and he confirms that the work or the material that's on site is in fact done or sitting there on site, and he does a great job. So we are at that point. It's framed up. The roof is on for the most part. There's a few little odds and ends to tie together. The fascias and the rakes and the freeze boards are all in very good shape. But again, there's a few that have, you know, and the doors are set. I didn't peek inside, but it's at this point, and this payment is fair and justified.
Any questions? Good. All right, we'll go to number 6 on the agenda, which is the West Falls Depot. This is a resolution for supporting it to nominate it to the National Register of Historic Places. This is a request from Connor Schneider, who had purchased the depot and wants to see if something can be done historic to that building. And I'll just
Jim, just one note that Connor is online.
oh, is he?
Oh.
Yeah.
Good. Connor, do you want to say anything?
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, Connor, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Tell us a little bit about what you want.
Sure. So, as you may already be aware, I bought the West Falls Depot and hope to restore it to its original condition as it appeared when it was built in 1917. Over the past year, I've been working with the depot's former owner, Terry Sprague, as well as the town historian, Rob Goller, to research and document the building's history. What resulted from that was a 67-page application that I have submitted to list the depot on the state and national registers of historic places. In my application, I argue that the depot is eligible for listing under 2 of the 4 regulatory criteria, which includes criterion A for its association with a pattern of events related to the development of rail transportation by the Buffalo, Rochester, and Pittsburgh Railway Company, as well as its contribution to development of Hamilton West Falls, and criterion C as an exemplary model of the distinctive architectural characteristics of a Queen Anne style train depot, which is only one of 2 remaining wooden depots built by the BRMP on its former main line from Buffalo to Pittsburgh. I submitted my application on December 12th to the New York State Historic Preservation Office, which is currently under review. But one factor that is relevant for the review is whether the building is locally recognized. So seeing as we don't have a historic preservation commission in the town, I was hoping you might consider offering a resolution in support of its nomination. But I'd like to add that listing is purely honorary, but it comes with the added benefits of protection from state or federal actions and enables the building to be eligible for historic preservation tax credits that could potentially help defray the restoration costs. So that's what I was hoping for. And if you have any questions, happy to provide. I did draft a sample resolution to kind of give you an idea of what a little bit of background about the building. And I believe I sent over the 67-page document. So
You did.
yep. Yeah.
I got the, yeah.
Luckily, I already had a copy of it. I didn't have to print it out.
Hey, Connor, Jim Granville, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Jim. Hi.
Hey, does that designation in any way limit you or the owner from its prospective use? How you're going to use it?
Listing alone does not. It does not. There's no any limitations there. Where the limitations come is if you do take advantage of a tax credit or someday get a grant. But as an individual, I'm not eligible for grants. It'd have to be like as a nonprofit or anything. So that's not relevant at all. The only area where it would come into play as if I took advantage of tax credits, but seeing as my ultimate goal is to restore it to its original condition, I'm not entirely opposed to those restrictions, I guess.
Good. Yeah, I've seen the work that you've posted online and decorating it up for Christmas, and I think it's incredible what you're planning on doing, and I hope it's a success for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, Connor, it's Joe McCann. Merry Christmas. Echoing what Councilman Granville said, I think it's fantastic you've taken this project on. I think that's can be a real asset, another real asset to the community of West Falls. My only concern, and maybe you can address this, if the town sends along this resolution of support and sort of acts as a vouching for the historic significance of this structure, would the town in any way have future liability? Would we be limited should the facility fall into additional disrepair through no fault of your own, fire, lightning, anything like that? I want to make sure that all the options available to the town now to deal with a structure and disrepair wouldn't be negated by this historic designation and or the town signing on to it. Not that I'm opposed to it, but I don't want to open us up for liability where we may or may not be expecting.
Sure. No, it's a good question. There is no liability on the town for offering a resolution of support. Even if it were listed on the National Register, I would still, as the property owner, have the ability to demolish the building if I so chose. There's no restrictions imposed, only if it is listed on the National Register. And even if it was, it wouldn't be the town that would be responsible. It'd be me as the property owner.
Would it be possible for you to provide a document to that? Just to make sure.
Yeah, I could definitely.
Just to keep an eye out for the residents of the town. And then once we have that, I'd be more than willing to help you out any way we can to get that building back to its former glory.
So
yeah, no, I can definitely give you. I can find the information. It's readily accessible. I can get that to you. No problem.
I think this is great you brought that up, Connor. And yeah, I agree with Joe. We want to make sure that we're not taking any steps here that the town has any sort of future issues. But when I looked into the sort of historical preservation committees that exist, it does look like that if you go down that road and create such a commission, that you are opening yourself up to a lot of grants and other potential possibilities. So it may be something that we as a board want to take in the new year to just look and see, do we want to create we have a committee upon committee, but this is a statutory one. And when you do it, it does open up a lot of grant opportunities. Thinking of like the Griffin's Mills churches, maybe, I don't know, the depot, obviously. I don't know if the grist mill would apply for that, but it could have a good effect if we were to, and I don't know, Connor, have you done your research on that as well?
I've done some preliminary research on it, but there are grants that are specifically only available to municipal entities. So I would assume that having a historic preservation commission of a sorts would help tap onto those funds if they were available.
So that is just something to put on our agenda, I guess, for 2023 to look into. Maybe we want to do it. I don't know.
And Luke, with the New York Forward grant, have any?
Yes,
anything
yeah,
to do with that?
We did put the depot into the New York Forward grant. If of course we put it in for $4.5 million. So if we were to receive that, it would be a couple $100,000 that would potentially go to the depot. depending on how it all shook out in the end. But yes, that was a
Okay.
part of the grant
Bridget?
process. Sorry. No.
Richard, do you have any comments regarding the town liability on this resolution?
I do have some questions. I unfortunately haven't seen the entire 50 whatever pages of the submission. I only have what's in the packet for today's meeting. So I'd like to read all of the resolutions and then maybe I could tuck some language in there that would be protective for the town.
Great.
So you recommended that we hold off on the resolution?
Yeah, I'm not in a position to approve it yet.
Yeah, and I'm kind of echoing what's been said so far by our town attorney and the other councilman. Is there a timeline, Connor, that you have that you need a resolution, or you think you need a resolution by a certain date?
I mean, sooner rather than later is always preferred. I know that the state is actively reviewing the application, but seeing that it's a lengthy document, I'm sure, they're going to take their time with it as well. And I'm sure, I don't know what else they have on their plate. But I mean, if I don't have a set date in mind,
Okay.
just, but yeah.
2 weeks won't kill you.
No, it won't kill me, no.
All right, thank you, Connor.
Yeah, no
Anything
problem.
else?
If you have any questions, please feel free to email me and I can, and I'll find that document for you, Joe, to pass it along.
Thank you very much and have a happy new year.
Same to you.
Thanks for your efforts, Connor. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Anything else for the work session? Nothing. Then we'll go on to our regular meeting. There are no public hearings today, so I'll move to the approval of the December 12th, 2022 work session and meeting minutes. So I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next, we have audience, and this is an opportunity for anyone from the audience to come up and address the board on any items that are on the agenda. If you wish to do so, please come up to the microphone, give us your full name and address, and we ask that you keep it to 3 to 5 minutes. I'm sorry. I can't hear.
Does not believe you have to reveal your address. She does not feel that you have to reveal your address.
Well, then you won't speak because that is the rule that we have to have it for our minutes.
Not from you. That was a comment from over here.
Yeah,
Right.
about the not
Yes,
speaking.
that wasn't coming
Yeah,
from you.
yeah,
Sorry.
yes.
Yeah.
I need to lower this.
That pops right out if you need to.
I don't want to hold it. Thank you.
There you go.
Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name's Kathy Gogan. I reside on King Street in East Aurora. I want to read the Article 5 Adult Use Zoning Law, just for anybody that hasn't read it or heard it. This is Article 5 Adult Uses 116-59 Purpose, the purpose of it, under the Chapter 116 zoning. Buildings and establishments operated as adult uses are detrimental and harmful to the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of a community, in that they engender adverse effects which contribute to the blighting or downgrading of a surrounding neighborhood. In order to promote the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the residents of the town of Aurora, this section is intended to restrict adult uses to non-residential areas of the town and to otherwise regulate their operation. Moreover, because the operational characteristics of adult uses, which are concentrated in a particular area, are such that the deleterious impact in the surrounding neighborhood is increased. This section is intended to promote the health, safety, morals, general welfare, and good order of the residents of the town of Aurora by regulating the concentration of such uses. It's interesting, there's 3 mentions of morals in there. And you mentioned that we can't legislate morality, but it is in there. Also, on the restrictions affecting adult use, it says no such adult use shall be located within 500 feet of a pre-existing school or place of worship, public park, playground, or playing field. As a Christian, I have to speak up and stand up for what I believe is right. I support the law as written with no changes needed. If we remove one part, what is next?
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good morning.
How you doing?
My name is Eric Carlson, 853 Main Street here in the village. I rise to speak in favor of the proposed changes to the town code. I do so for several reasons. First, I'd like us to put aside the idea that the issue is about enforcing town laws and some people picking and choosing what laws they want to follow, as some suggested a couple weeks ago. Indeed, some of those who are against the changes were flouting on social media their lack of adherence to the travel ban this weekend. So second, I'd also like to be clear about the specific incident. This is a private business on private land operating a private event inside, I'd point out, for adults only. Controlling and litigating the actions of consulting adults is anathema to supporting freedom. The First Amendment clearly protects both speech and artistic expression, which this is, and I think the board has accepted that. But the heart of the issue is the quote, male or female impersonator language. The code simply does not specify what it means to impersonate a male or female. The folks against this change have likewise not provided any proposed definition, and in fact, none exists. Without this, the code is undefinable, and if it's undefinable, it's unenforceable. The code enforcement officer made the exact right decision. Further, to attempt to determine a performer's gender, which is central to enforcing this code, would create enormous civil and human rights issues, along with privacy issues. Attempting to define what it means to impersonate a gender is impossible as well. Doing so could easily outlaw all kinds of things that, again, were brought up a couple weeks ago. And again, those rallying against the changes have offered no definition of either. Quote, I'll know it when I see it, unquote, is not a legal doctrine. So we could try to go there with definitions, but suffice to say the current code fails on definition, legality, enforceability, purpose, and construct. It also hardly supports the values of Aurora as a progressive, inclusive, and welcoming community. The people of Aurora support your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Leslie Carlson. I also live at 853 Main Street, and want to thank you all for our opportunity to express our opinions, but also for the very serious way in which you're going about approaching this issue and looking at it from every point of view. I actually had something prepared, but the town attorney said everything I said I had to say much more eloquently and informedly. But I also want to say that times are changing, that some laws are, the wording of some laws go out of touch with public opinion. And I recently went to a drag show at the Riviera Theater, and I'm not sure whether it's in North Tonawanda or the city of Tonawanda, but both those localities have the same wording and the same of their adult use as we do here in East Aurora. And clearly their sold out show at the Riviera Theater was not shut down. And the entertainment that I experienced there was no different than I would have seen with Betty White being interviewed by Johnny Carson. It was no more risque than that. And finally, I'd like to say that right now on standard cable channels, you can watch RuPaul's drag shows at prime time. Any kid can turn that on in their own home. So public opinion has changed, the ways of life have changed, and I appreciate that East Aurora is looking to become inclusive in that way. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah.
As soon as we're done with the people in here.
All right, it's an honor for me to appear before you, and thank you so much. I need this higher. There we go. And I thank you for the opportunity to do so. I'm John Gogan, and I happen to be the husband of the lady who was here before me, and she was reading the code. And I also live here on King Street, 203 King Street. I also pastor Agape Bible Fellowship, which is right next door to Angelina's. I must share with you that my approach to life is that absolute truth exists. And truth is not a relative. Your truth is different than my truth, and we both can pick and choose. And for any who disagree with that, and I love America because we can have people who are totally antithetical to what I'm saying, and I can get up here and say what I say. Isn't America great? Don't you love our nation? I do, and I praise God for it. However, for those who disagree and say, well, there are no absolute truths, everything is relative. Do you absolutely believe that? Because that's an exception, right? Excuse me, that is contradictory. That there are no absolutes. If you're absolutely sure about that, then that's an absolute, and it's a self-defeating position. And one key absolute truth that I adhere to, because the middle name of our church is Agape Bible Church, Agape Bible Fellowship, is that God, the God of the Bible, made us, created each of us, and he revealed himself in his word, in the Bible. And he spoke and he didn't stutter. He said what he meant and he meant what he said. And in fact, really, I call it the owner's manual. If you get a new car, where's the owner's manual usually? Glove compartment. Well, this is our owner's manual. He made us, he created us, he owns everything around us. And that's how I refer. It tells us when to change the oil, how to gap the spark plugs, and so forth. One of my former Dallas seminary professors, Dr. Howard Hendricks, I think put it best. What's important is not so much where you are right now, but in what direction you're headed. And I honestly do not like the direction of amending this code because it's so close to us what's happening. And while we all seek to uphold and, if necessary, fight, like Dr. Martin Luther King, for our First Amendment right, there are necessary limits to it. For instance, our free speech does not allow us to yell fire in a crowded building because people panic and they all run to the exit, and some get trampled and some people get killed and seriously injured. Are you aware that in some states within the United States already there are cross-dressers and transgenders in charge of after-school performances in school libraries for school-age children? And I think we are headed down a very fast, slippery slope, morally and ethically. Nations in history didn't get away with it. And you know what? Neither will we. Because there is a God in heaven who is going to judge everyone. It says for adults only. I submit to you, if it's not safe and sound for younger human beings, then why is it socially redeemable and morally healthy for older human beings? You know the old saying with computer software, garbage in, garbage out. And what goes in the eye gate impacts you and impacts me. And that's why we really need to be careful before we start changing laws. Like our beloved nation's founding fathers, perhaps our antiquated ancestors were not quite as dumb and backward as we think, at least some of us think. That's why they worded the code the way they did. Finally, one of the hardest funerals I did was at my grandmother's funeral. She was in her 96th year. She asked me to do it 2 weeks before she passed. And when I was in front of all of her friends and and relatives and so forth, some of them knowing me very well, I simply acknowledged that I have all my chips in one basket. If I'm wrong, I lose everything. I am banking all my chips in that one basket. And I'm banking on the fact that a Jew who lived 2,000 years ago spoke the truth. He said, I am the truth. Not just I know the truth, but I am the truth. Some of the words that he uses in Mark 10:6, when asked related to this very issue, concerns male and female. And here's what he says. This is the word of God. But from the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female. That's it. You say, well, I'm this or I'm that. Well, every chromosome inside you, within every cell, is screaming, what, X, Y, X? I mean, you're still who God made you to be, no matter what or who you say you are differently. And Agape Bible Fellowship, this is important to me. We've been here in the community. We're in our 4th decade. And we're a place of worship. And we need to respect God. We need to respect God's place of worship. His word also commands us actually not to cross-dress. Remember, he spoke, he didn't stutter. In Deuteronomy 22 and verse 5, a woman must not wear men's clothing, and a man must not wear women's clothing. For the Lord your God detests anyone who does this. Simple, pretty clear. Please think about what this pastor has said today. One more thing, God and his son love us, but love must always be balanced with truth. In fact, Psalm 145:18 says, the Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. And we don't make up truth. Either our truth agrees with the word of God, and if mine doesn't, I'm in trouble. And so is yours. And I would challenge you, dig into the scriptures. And by the way, we have a very good relationship with Ben. Met him personally, very good relationship with everyone. They use our parking lot next door. We try to have goodwill, both with the Angelinas and also with IRR Plumbing. So we're not, and I have no animus toward them. I love all the workers. I just have a problem with the direction this heads us in. And I thank you for your time, and I appreciate your attention.
Thank you. Anybody else on any item on the agenda? Please come up to the mic. It has to be on the agenda. Okay. There's a time to speak after in another part of the agenda if you'd like. But
Your issue has to be on the agenda.
Yeah.
Not you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Please come up to the mic.
Becky Horning, South Wales, New York. I understand that you're going to be having a Christmas celebration after your meeting this morning. Congratulations and enjoy Christmas, Christmas. So I'm assuming anyone that is celebrating the birth of Christ today, if they're gathering with that they might be of Christian beliefs. So I asked you that those of you who call yourself a Christian to vote with your conscience. Sorry, I just lost my page. To preserve and protect the integrity of this fine community. East Aurora is the only town in America that kept Walmart out to do exactly that. Preserve our fine community.
Now, because this business wasn't able to be successful with a family Sunday brunch, they resort to selling sex. Iron Kettle Brunch is packed. Perhaps they could take a few lessons. What's next? Hair salons and spas treating their customers to a show? What about our local theater that is struggling? That would be fun. School lunchtime with this gross public perversion. Where does it stop once you open the door and start degrading what our predecessors have worked so hard to preserve? Now, I understand that you did mention there you might have some control, but when you open a door like this to open our community to what Pastor exactly was talking about, open your Bible. And before you vote, once again, ask your conscience. Our laws are there. We're not looking to be progressive. Walmart is progressive. We kept them out. Do the right thing. Thank you for letting me speak, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Anybody else? I hope they're not coming up. Okay.
Were those elves?
Grandchildren.
Oh, that's great.
One more time. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on.
I think you got some online
Oh, I'm
comments.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yep, forgot you. Go ahead. Who's online?
Hi, this is David Peltian. I'm at on Church Street. And I have a couple of quick points. One, sounds like you're about to vote on a change to the zoning code. And I wanted to point out that Councilman Granville has a commercial interest in an entertainment center that is within 500 feet of a church. And so there's an apparent conflict there. The optics are kind of bad to vote on this himself. Also wanted to point out that despite all these discussions about fine craft and whatever, I didn't attend any of the drag shows at Angelina's, but I did see some photographs, and one photograph in particular was one of the performers with his legs splayed, apparently in a sexual act against a lamp hanging from the ceiling. So regardless of how this vote turns out, it seems like it's still an incident that should be investigated by the code officer because it's a sexualized performance. And that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Elizabeth?
Hello, this is
Go ahead, please.
Michelle Kavanaugh, and I'm from Greenwood Court in East Aurora. I'd like to point out a couple of things that were said, both at the hearing and today. The first comment that was made about unenforceability is interesting. It was stated that you're unable to enforce because you couldn't demonstrate what gender the male and female impersonators were as proof that they were impersonating. And actually, this kind of rationale is irrelevant and even a little humorous. The events in question were advertised specifically as drag brunches. By definition, a drag show, according to the Urban Dictionary, is an event where males and females dress as the opposite gender. If Ditzy Duke advertises herself as a drag queen and dresses as a woman, she is, after all, a female impersonator, and by definition must be some gender other than female. This is just simple logic, and it's not really about which gender is dragging. and it's not really about enforceability. But more importantly, I heard the comment that it's not our job to be moral police. However, it is your job to regulate performances that could expose children to sexualized acts and negative secondary effects. Now, perhaps Angelina's current shows aren't sexualized. I don't know, and I can't judge that. And perhaps they currently restrict children. But future shows in the community and at Angelina's may be different because now you've removed any age limit for these shows. We have age limits for driving, for alcohol use, and for marijuana use, but not this. So our children are in your hands, gentlemen. Thank you.
Anybody else, Elizabeth? That's it. Yeah. All right, we'll move on to unfinished business, and we have the local law intro 7-2022 adult use definition amendment. And I would entertain any motions on this issue.
So moved.
Okay, you got to make the motion, please.
I move to pass local law intro 7-2022 as published.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Second by
Joe.
Joe. Okay. All right, this is a roll call vote, so I'll ask the clerk.
Aye.
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 Aye. That local law has been adopted. Moving on to new business. There's one item that we have to add, which will be M. And that is, I'm sorry that I didn't get that on there, but it was the motion to extend all current board and committee appointments to the January 9th, 2023 organizational meeting. Do I have a motion to add?
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next, we have A, which is request to purchase the pool vacuum. This is a request to purchase it from Commercial Clearwater for the amount of $8,999. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chuck. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Next is payment one, the Greater Niagara for a pool boiler. And that is in the amount. That's the wrong one here. Yep. That 39,000? Yep. Okay. $39,745. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, change order number 5. And I believe this is in the amount of $1,814 that Councilman Snyder talked about. For Peyton Barlow. Do we have a motion to authorize?
So moved.
Motion by Jim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and that is carried. And change order number 6. And that is a credit of $2,500. We talked about in the work session. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Luke. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and that is carried. And E, this is a payment for the pool project to Peyton Barlow for in the amount of $105,413.31, and these are scheduled payments. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
I'll second.
second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next, we have the West Falls Depot resolution of support. And after discussion, we decided to table this issue to get some clarification on whether we would be liable. So I have a motion to table.
So moved.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jim. Any discussion?
Just want to, on the record, that it's not a lack of support for West Falls Depot. I think it's a fantastic idea. I just want to make sure we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed. I forgot we do the I's in this for a second there.
And I think
Cross his eyes.
I'm not gonna say anything because I make mistakes too sometimes. I think our town attorney is gonna check into that too for us.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 5G is from Elizabeth Cassidy. She requests approval for a payout for remaining comp time, which was occurred in 2022. And the funds will be transferred from the assistant code enforcement budget line. And we're talking about 37.75 hours.
So-
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Luke,
Second.
second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next, we have budget transfer from Elizabeth Cassidy, and this is for the cover the comp time payout in 2022. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Chuck,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. And next, we have to approve the 2023 recreation rate chart. I would make a motion that we approve it as listed. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and that is carried. Next, 5J is the recreation rate increases for minimum wage. And you can see them as listed on the chart. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Jim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and it's carried. Next, we need a budget transfer from Kathleen Moffett. And this is for the NIPA interest loan. And this is because it's a variable interest rate loan, and we don't know until the end of the year exactly what the interest rate is going to be until now. Any questions on that? Does everyone know what that loan's for? Okay, yeah, okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then. That's right. We didn't get a second?
Second.
Second. I thought we.
No, I didn't. I'm just doing it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't hear you.
Yeah, no. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. All right, another budget amendment. From Kathleen Moffett, and she's requesting that we do a budget amendment for some insurance funds that we received due to an accident. And she wants to increase revenue line DB 2680 insurance recoveries in the amount of $5,191.60 and increase appropriation line DB 5130.432 materials and supplies by the same amount. A motion to carry.
So moved.
Yes. Okay. Luke,
Second.
Chuck. Any discussion?
Hey, Dave, was this the one you weren't sure if they're going to cover 4 tires or 1 tire? Or?
Oh, yes, they covered them all, right?
Oh, nice.
Liz, that's insurance claim. Yeah, so it worked out well.
Excellent.
And next is M, and this is a motion to extend.
I don't think we voted though,
We didn't vote yet.
Oh, we didn't.
and that accepting or changing the
You
budget
keep
or whatever.
asking questions.
Well, I'll stop. I'm sorry. I thought this was America.
It isn't in here.
He's just crossing his eyes, Jim. He's just crossing his eyes.
I apologize.
We're confused. Is this a 3-wheel
Any other
vehicle?
discussion?
How does that?
No. Any other discussion? Are you sure? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll muzzle Joe.
Sorry, I'm hungry. All right, and then this is a motion to extend all the current board and committee appointees to the January 9th reorg meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Luke,
I'll second.
second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and that is carried. Next, we'll go to communication and reports. We have the building department, South Wales Fire Company letter of thanks for the ARPA funds and the ECIDA policy amendment notice. The building department was November 2022 report. Next, we'll go to business from the board members. And Luke, anything?
I mean, we're all going to say it here. Thanks to Dave and your entire staff and crew for doing everything over the last couple of days. We didn't get hit as hard, but it was still something, right? And I'm sure you'll talk about Lancaster and everything. So obviously we're very thankful for that. Same to the East Aurora Police, same to East Aurora Fire, West Falls Fire, and South Wales Fire. And I don't know anybody else on the emergency committee and what they're doing. It's times like this that we realize we need each other, and it's great to have great people working for us. So other than that, climate smart community task force has met. One thing that we may need some assistance on is gathering some more information about our electricity and gas use. And one big thing is going to be comparing this year with the new boiler to last year. That may actually give us quite a bit of points. So that's really good. And then, you know, those meetings are online as well. If anybody wants to join in the future, it's a good group. Other than that, still working on the Code Red and social media policy. It's taking a lot more time than I would have hoped. So we'll hopefully have that soonish.
Thank you, Luke. Okay.
Yeah, I again, thanks, Dave. Your crew did an awesome job. You even found time to help out a neighboring community, which is just wonderful. But I just wanted to mention too that Councilman Washensky and myself met with Chris and Megan to discuss, sounds early with 3 feet of snow out there, but just discuss the baseball schedule and some of the issues that have been going on for several years with that. And we're working on that to get that straightened out a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks again, Dave. During the storm, I did get some phone calls that were concerned about their neighbors, and I looked out and I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to walk over, but the roads were clear. I was able to do that. I was able to check on neighbors. Everybody was very pleased. I saw some of your crew today. I thanked them for what they did. I mentioned they missed a spot. They didn't appreciate that humor in any way whatsoever.
That was the town.
That wasn't the first time they heard that.
That was the town truck. Obviously, that was loaned to the village, though. That must be right.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
and I think it's amazing that you guys were not only able to clear us out multiple times, but also help our neighbors out as well, who really needed it. And seeing some of the pictures of the 1-lane transit road with cars dotted all over was incredible, and to be able to help out speaks a lot for you and your crew, Dave. So I do appreciate that. I do want to mention something. We didn't have a full discussion. I'm sorry, we did have a full discussion, but after some of the comments regarding the code change, David Peltan from Church Street indicated that I should recuse myself from the vote. I didn't get a chance to address that because he said I have a commercial interest in property in West Falls. I don't have a commercial interest in any property in West Falls. I am board chairman of the West Falls Center for the Arts. We rent from somebody else. It's a nonprofit. By definition, there's no such thing as a commercial interest. Any money that we make goes back into the community. Any money that we make goes back to our veterans program, to our Alzheimer's program, and to our youth orchestra programs, which we ran throughout the COVID pandemic, et cetera. So I don't have an interest. I didn't feel that I needed to recuse myself because of that relationship. If I did have a commercial interest, I'd let you know. So,
and also one point, Jim, it's not in a C3 zone where that would be applicable. So
I didn't know that till just now, but yeah, I probably knew that somewhere in the back of my head, but I just wanted to at least address that as a truth.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Well, Dave, you're the greatest. That's you can't start anything without saying Dave's the greatest. So no, it's the heroes out there.
Sorry, Dave, I was supposed to muzzle him.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you captain the ship well, and your guys are all great and they all return. I know they're spent, but you give them a wave and they give you a wave back with just that one finger. And I think that's fantastic. Of course, I'm kidding. They're a great bunch of guys. The only thing is that we're finally putting the battening on the hatches on the T-Mobile grant. We have all the letters received. Thanks for those who submitted them. We have all the documents we need. We'll get that in probably today, and cross our fingers and hope it comes through, and should be exciting stuff. And thank you so much for your help, Paul. Those drawings, I really think, are going to put us over the top. They are fantastic. So thank you for all that. And Happy New Year's to everybody. That's all I have.
I've already thanked you when you were out plowing still, Dave. So I just want to wish everyone a happy new year and a safe and happy new year. Hopefully the snow will recede a little bit. Okay, so we'll go on to audience, and this is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the board on any issue. And I believe there was someone here. Are they out in the
Jim, I heard you can call on anybody you want to in the audience, you know, whether they're wearing a neck brace or not.
This is true. Anyone outside there that wanted to talk to the board? No, okay.
It's just getting cold.
I think if anyone.
Is there
on Zoom
anybody
uses
on
the-
Zoom that wants to talk to the board?
Yeah, use the raise hand function on Zoom if you'd like to speak.
Nobody?
And judging by the comments on Facebook, it seems like it was a pretty popularly watched event today. So be online.
All right, then we will go on to staff reports. Robert, do you have anything for us today? Library, Donna?
A few things, again, I say, but I do want to thank Dave because our doors are open. Our parking lots there, we're doing lunch tonight, so thanks.
Oh, thanks, Liz. Okay, so I can tell everybody, thank you again today. It's great. Wish everybody Merry Christmas. Kyle, and they were wonderful, and Jason, they're doing a great job. They really are over there. Couple of things, we're excited. Our sound system is scheduled to be installed on January 9th. They're waiting for all the parts to come in and everything. So that's in, and hopefully somebody was over recently about the doors. So hopefully pretty soon the doors will be installed too. So we're really excited. We're having a little trouble keeping some of the older doors closed, but we're working on that. So that's it. And again, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Shane?
I just thank Martha for opening the senior center for some residents without power over the weekend. Luckily, we didn't have a lot of power outages, so everything went well.
Thanks. Paul, Rod, you guys have anything?
Grab that mic, Paul.
Yeah, pass the mic.
Yeah.
I like you two guys sitting over in the side like that in the corner. You know, yeah.
Okay, quiet up
I
there.
was gonna say that, but I didn't think I should.
Sit down. So we had a great year, and the zoning board, and we're looking for another good year coming up in 2023. I'd also like to thank Dave, but he seems a little taller today. That's all I have. Thank you.
Dave's not gonna be able to get his head through this door back there. Dave.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, but really credit goes to our workforce. Tough storm. And as you know, I think the public may have heard, we ended up helping the village. They had a truck go down, so a town truck was out plowing with them. We ended up in a break on Saturday. We sent our entire fleet and shift to Lancaster, and they were very grateful. We were able to open up some of their main roads like Pavement and Peppermint, and it helped them to keep their people safe. We then boogied back here quick enough to catch the band. The village and the town worked so hard together. We both just ran out of fuel, and the fuel truck just showed up since we've been here. So we're ready to go again. So that just gives you a gravity how hard everybody worked. Both departments are completely out of fuel, and our plow trucks are on fumes. So It doesn't look like too many inches maybe compared to the north, but it definitely was a very hard storm. A lot of turns, a lot of burning, and our hearts go out to the north towns. It's terrible up there what's going on, and we're going to continue. We've put out assistance to helps to every other town as we go through this week. We're going to continue to any way we can help them. We're going to do that. So thanks for all the kudos, but really we're just here to do our jobs, and I appreciate all the compliments.
How much snow have we gotten so far this year, Dave?
Oh, that's something I tried to find out for National Weather Service, but we got to be closing in on a year's worth of snow already. My estimate is 120 inches. That's just from in my head. So we generally get about 140 in East Aurora, and we get about 220 in West Falls. Now, West Falls actually is down a little bit compared to East Aurora. All three bands have hit mostly in the north side of town. So we've had a year's worth of snow in about a month. And that's showing in our salt usage. We just ordered our 1,700 ton of salt, and we've gone through 2,000 ton of sand. So we're already up to about 4,000 tons of materials have gone on those roads in the past month, which is just unbelievable. Fuel, the bills are off the chart. Overtime, we've done a year's worth of overtime in 1 month. The good news is it appears the governor is working hard with President Biden to get another FEMA claim. Me and Liz are already working. We're anticipating that. So hopefully this doesn't hurt our budget. It just take a little while for the money to come. Last thing, just to speak of the bridges, we are moving forward with the village. Chuck and Luke and me are meeting with Bridget and the DOT and our engineer on drawing up a proper DOT resolution to get to the village for their board meeting on the 17th. We'll get it to them right away though, so they have a couple weeks to look at it. And good news is that it appears that the village is ready to work alongside us on that bridge project. Just want to throw that out, and help from our one trustee here. Thank you, Grace, for the help on that. I guess that's all I got to say with highway. We got a lot of cleanup to do. We got trees down everywhere. We had stops. We got a mess everywhere. So it's good. It isn't over. We got a lot of work still, but they did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, I echo that. Thanks to Grace for being our sort of liaison with the village as we got that through. The last meeting, everything was positive for the road to be changed. So it's good.
Liz? Okay, I guess that's everybody. I didn't miss anybody. Motion to approve the abstract.
So moved.
Motion by Luke. Second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Luke.
Second.
Second by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?